It was a warm afternoon in the city, and the hotel lobby was filled with the usual buzz of activity. Guests were coming and going, bellhops were carrying luggage, and the faint scent of fresh flowers mixed with polished wood filled the air. The grand piano stood near the center of the lobby, its black surface gleaming under the soft lights. It was a beautiful instrument, the kind that made people pause for a moment to admire it. It had been in the hotel for many years, part of its charm and reputation, and only certain people were allowed to touch it. The maid's daughter had come along with her mother as she often did after school. She loved being in the hotel because it was different from the quiet streets she usually walked through. Everything was bright, shiny, and full of life. She enjoyed helping her mother with small chores, like folding linens or arranging fresh flowers in the lobby. Today, she noticed that the piano was slightly off from where it usually sat, and she thought moving it just a little would make the space feel more open and welcoming. She didn't think anyone would mind. After all, she had helped her mother rearrange tables and chairs many times before without anyone noticing. She walked up to the piano slowly, her hands hovering over the polished surface. It was heavier than she expected, but she was determined. She pushed gently at first, trying to shift it just a little, making sure not to scratch the floor. A few other guests passed by, some smiling at the sight of the little girl helping, thinking she was just curious about the big piano. She hummed softly to herself, enjoying the little task, feeling proud to contribute in her own small way. From across the lobby, a hotel clerk noticed the movement. He had been watching the lobby for years, making sure everything ran smoothly. When he saw the young girl touching the piano, his face tightened with concern. He knew the piano was delicate and expensive, and he feared something could happen if she moved it. Without thinking twice, he marched over and shouted at her, startling both the girl and the nearby guests. "Hey, what do you think you're doing?" he demanded, his voice sharp. The maid's daughter froze, unsure of how to respond. Her heart raced, and a mix of fear and embarrassment washed over her. She hadn't intended to cause any trouble. She looked up at the clerk, her eyes wide, and opened her mouth, but no words came out. Guests in the lobby stopped for a moment, their attention caught by the sudden tension. Some leaned on the railings to see what was happening, curious about the confrontation in front of them. The clerk, still frowning, gestured toward the piano as if to emphasize his point. "You cannot touch this. Do you understand?" he repeated, his voice echoing slightly in the spacious lobby. The girl nodded quickly, her small hands pressed together nervously. She wanted to apologize but didn't know what to say. Her mother, who had been folding towels nearby, rushed over, worry etched across her face. "It's okay. She didn't mean any harm," she said softly, trying to calm the situation. The clerk turned his attention to the mother, his expression stern. "I understand, but rules are rules. She can't just move hotel property. This piano is valuable. It's not a toy." The maid nodded, understanding, and gently guided her daughter away from the piano. The young girl's cheeks were flushed, and she felt a sting of shame. She had only wanted to help, but now she felt like she had done something wrong in front of so many people. As they stepped back, the girl glanced at the piano one more time. She had always loved music and sometimes imagined herself playing it. Even now, she could almost hear the notes in her head. The clerk continued to talk about the importance of following hotel rules, but she barely heard him. Her mind was occupied with the piano, the keys, and the melodies she had been practicing in secret at home. She wondered if she would ever get a chance to play it, to let her fingers dance across the keys and make the music she loved. The guests, meanwhile, whispered among themselves. Some felt sympathy for the girl, seeing her shyness and nervousness. Others were curious about the situation, watching as a scene unfolded in front of them that was both tense and unusual. A few even smiled quietly, remembering times when they had been scolded for innocent mistakes as children. The atmosphere, once routine and calm, had become charged with anticipation and attention. The maid squeezed her daughter's hand gently, giving her a reassuring look. "It's okay, you didn't mean any harm," she whispered. The girl nodded again, feeling a mix of relief and lingering embarrassment. She wanted to disappear for a moment, but she also felt a strange pull toward the piano. It called to her in a way that made her forget her fear just slightly. She had always loved the way music could fill a room, could make people stop and listen, even if only for a few seconds. The clerk, feeling that he had restored order, turned back to his duties, though a flicker of curiosity remained in his eyes as he glanced at the girl. Something about her expression, the quiet determination she showed even when frightened, caught his attention. He didn't know why, but he had a feeling that this was more than just a little girl moving a piano. There was something in her, a hidden talent perhaps, that he hadn't seen before. Meanwhile, the young girl stood there for a moment, her hands still trembling slightly. She looked around the lobby, seeing the people who had stopped to watch, and a strange sense of courage began to grow inside her. The piano wasn't just a piece of furniture. It was an opportunity, a chance to do something that mattered, even if only for a few moments. She could feel the music waiting inside her, and a small smile appeared on her lips, almost imperceptible but genuine. The hotel lobby slowly returned to its normal rhythm, but the girl couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. She had faced fear, embarrassment, and the sharp words of an authority figure, yet she still felt drawn to the piano. It was as if the universe had quietly placed a challenge before her, one she was curious and excited to meet. She knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning of something unexpected. As the afternoon sun cast warm light through the large windows, highlighting the polished floors and elegant decor, the young girl took a deep breath. She had learned a lesson about rules, authority, and the unexpected attention a simple action could bring. But more importantly, she had felt a spark of determination and courage that made her heart beat faster. She wasn't sure what would happen next, but she knew that the piano and the lobby were somehow calling her, promising an experience that might change everything. She glanced at her mother, who gave her an encouraging nod, and then back at the piano. The keys seemed to glimmer in the sunlight, inviting her. The world outside the hotel continued at its usual pace, but inside the grand lobby, a small moment of magic was quietly forming, waiting for her to take the next step. And in that moment, the maid's daughter realized that even small actions could lead to moments that no one would forget. The hotel lobby was unusually quiet after the brief confrontation. Guests had paused in their movement, their attention caught by the sudden shouting. Some leaned on the edges of the railings, curious to see what would happen next. The maid's daughter stood frozen, still close to the piano, her hands pressed together nervously. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, and her small shoulders were tense. She had never been scolded like this before in public, and the feeling of being watched by so many people made her even more self-conscious. The hotel clerk, a tall man with a stern expression, walked closer to her. His eyes were fixed on the girl, making her feel even smaller. He was used to maintaining order in the lobby and had little patience for mistakes, especially when they involved expensive property. "Do you understand the rules?" he asked sharply, his tone leaving no room for argument. The young girl nodded quickly, her voice barely audible as she whispered, "Yes, sir." The clerk frowned slightly, but his gaze softened a little as he saw the fear and embarrassment in her eyes. Her mother stood nearby, her hands lightly resting on her daughter's shoulders. She tried to offer comfort without undermining the clerk's authority. "It's okay. She didn't mean any harm," she said softly, hoping to calm the tension. The clerk glanced at the mother, his expression still serious but not as harsh. "I know, but you have to understand. That piano is valuable. It's not something to be moved without permission," he said firmly. The young girl listened carefully, nodding again. She wanted to apologize properly, but the words seemed stuck in her throat. Around them, guests whispered quietly to each other. Some were sympathetic, feeling the girl had been unfairly shouted at. Others were intrigued, sensing there might be more to the story. A few even smiled softly, remembering times when they had been scolded as children. The lobby felt charged with anticipation, like something unexpected was about to happen. The girl, sensing all the attention, felt a mix of fear and curiosity. She wanted to run away, but at the same time, she felt a strange pull toward the piano. The clerk, feeling that he had made his point, took a step back but kept a watchful eye on her. He returned briefly to his duties, making sure that everything else in the lobby continued smoothly. Yet, he couldn't help but glance at the young girl from time to time. There was something in her quiet demeanor, her nervous yet determined posture, that seemed unusual. He had seen many children in the lobby over the years, but this one seemed different. She was small, yes, but there was a spark in her eyes, a sense of confidence hidden beneath the shyness. The girl slowly looked at the piano again. Its black surface reflected the lights from the ceiling, making it look almost magical. She could feel the music inside her, the melodies she had been practicing at home playing in her mind. Even though she had never touched such a grand instrument before, she knew the sounds it could make. She could almost hear the notes in her head, soft and clear, like a whisper. The thought made her fingers itch to play, even though she had been scolded moments ago. Her mother noticed her daughter's lingering gaze and understood. She gently squeezed her hand, giving her a reassuring look. "If you want to, you can try to play," she whispered. The girl's eyes widened in surprise. Could she really play in front of all these people? The thought was terrifying, but at the same time it felt exciting. She nodded slightly, feeling a tiny spark of courage. The guests in the lobby began to shift, some returning to their activities, but others stayed, sensing something unusual was about to happen. The girl stepped closer to the piano, her hands hovering over the keys. The clerk, noticing her movement, straightened up. He frowned, unsure of what she was planning. He didn't want the piano to be damaged, but he also didn't know what to do as the girl's determination became more apparent. With a deep breath, she pressed her fingers gently on the keys. A soft, delicate note filled the air, surprising both herself and the people around her. The sound was clear and pure, and it seemed to catch everyone's attention immediately. Guests stopped in their tracks, turning to watch the young girl. Some whispered softly to each other, their faces lighting up with curiosity and admiration. The clerk's eyes widened slightly, his frown slowly giving way to surprise. He had not expected her to play, and certainly not with such precision and confidence. She continued, her fingers moving carefully but confidently across the keys. Each note seemed to flow naturally, creating a melody that filled the entire lobby. The guests were silent now, captivated by the unexpected performance. The young girl's mother watched with pride, realizing that her daughter's talent was far greater than she had imagined. The clerk, who had been so strict moments ago, now found himself unable to look away. The music was mesmerizing, transforming the tension in the lobby into a sense of awe and wonder. The young girl's confidence grew with each note. She had been practicing in secret at home for years, and now, for the first time, she was performing in front of an audience. Her fear began to melt away, replaced by a quiet determination. The clerk, who had shouted at her just moments ago, now looked on with amazement. He realized that this was not just a mistake or an accident. This was a gift, a talent that deserved to be recognized. Guests continued to gather, drawn by the beautiful music. Some took out their phones to record the moment. Others simply stood in silence, letting the melody wash over them. The lobby, once filled with tension and awkwardness, was now alive with wonder and admiration. The young girl played with a focus and maturity that seemed beyond her years. Each note was clear and precise, each chord perfectly timed. The clerk felt a sense of humility, realizing that he had almost missed seeing something truly extraordinary. As the piece came to an end, the lobby erupted into quiet applause. Guests smiled, some clapped softly, and a few even cheered. The young girl's face lit up with a mixture of relief and pride. She had faced her fear, ignored the embarrassment, and shared her talent with the world. The clerk, still standing nearby, approached her slowly. His expression had changed completely from sternness to admiration. I didn't know you could play like that," he said quietly, almost in disbelief. The young girl nodded shyly, her cheeks flushed with happiness. Her mother stepped forward, hugging her gently. "You did wonderfully," she whispered. The young girl's confidence grew even more as she realized that the audience had accepted and admired her performance. The clerk, who had been so quick to judge, now seemed to understand that sometimes rules and caution must give way to recognizing talent and potential. The lobby, once tense and quiet, was now filled with a sense of joy and accomplishment, all centered around the young girl and her unexpected musical gift. The moment lingered in the air, a small miracle in the middle of an ordinary hotel afternoon. Guests returned to their activities, but many kept glancing back, remembering the extraordinary performance they had witnessed. The young girl had not only moved the piano, she had moved the hearts of everyone present. The clerk, who had shouted at her just minutes earlier, now watched quietly, a small smile forming on his face as he realized that something special had just occurred right before his eyes. In that moment, the young girl understood that courage and talent could turn even the most frightening situations into unforgettable experiences. She had faced her fear, embraced her passion, and transformed a moment of embarrassment into a memory that everyone in the lobby would carry with them. The piano, once a source of tension, had become the bridge to a magical and unexpected connection, leaving everyone stunned and inspired. The hotel lobby had returned to a quiet hum after the initial surprise, but the young girl's mind was racing. Her hands still hovered near the piano keys, the warmth of the wood under her fingers reminding her of the music that seemed to live inside her. She could feel the eyes of the guests on her, a mix of curiosity, anticipation, and admiration. Her heart beat fast, not just from fear, but from excitement too. This was new for her, something entirely different from the secret practice sessions she had at home. Now, the music she loved could touch other people's hearts. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself. The clerk who had shouted at her earlier was nearby, his arms crossed and eyebrows furrowed. He had a strict expression, but there was also a hint of curiosity in his eyes. He had seen children before, timid and uncertain, and he knew this girl was different. She wasn't just shy. She was filled with determination, a quiet confidence that didn't need words. That realization made him stand a little straighter, watching her carefully to see what she would do next. Around them, the guests had started to notice the tension lingering in the air. Some were leaning on tables, others stopped walking, sensing that something important was about to unfold. The young girl could see their eyes, and while it was intimidating, it also gave her courage. She remembered the times she had practiced alone at home, the notes that had once sounded uncertain but had grown steady over time. She knew she could do it. She just had to start. Slowly, she pressed her fingers onto the keys again. The first note was soft, barely audible, but it was perfect in its clarity. She continued, adding one note after another, building a simple melody. Her hands moved carefully, yet with confidence. Each note seemed to echo in the large space, making the lobby feel alive. The guests turned to watch, whispers of admiration spreading among them. The clerk's eyes widened slightly as he saw her skill. It wasn't just a child playing. It was someone who understood the music deeply. The young girl felt herself relax a little as she played. The fear from earlier moments faded, replaced by the joy of sharing something she loved. The piano responded beautifully to her touch, each key producing the sound she imagined in her mind. She began to play more boldly, her movements more fluid. The melody became richer, more expressive, capturing the attention of everyone in the lobby. Even the clerk, who had been so focused on rules and caution, found himself caught up in the music. His stern demeanor softened, and he took a step closer, watching intently. Guests who had been walking through the lobby stopped and turned toward the sound. Some whispered softly to each other, their eyes wide with surprise. Others smiled, clearly moved by the unexpected performance. A few took out their phones, wanting to capture the moment, but many simply watched in silence, letting the music wash over them. The atmosphere had changed completely. What had started as an awkward scolding was now transforming into a magical experience. The young girl's music filled the room, turning tension into wonder. Her mother watched from nearby, her heart swelling with pride. She had always known her daughter had talent, but seeing her perform in front of an audience was different. She could see the joy and confidence growing in her daughter's eyes, and it made her feel grateful that she had supported her. She knew this moment would stay with her daughter forever, a memory of courage, skill, and the power of following one's passion. The young girl continued to play, her fingers moving deftly across the keys. Each note seemed to tell a story of determination and courage. She had faced fear, embarrassment, and uncertainty, but now she was creating something beautiful. The clerk, who had been so concerned about rules and order, now watched with genuine admiration. He realized that sometimes, unexpected moments like these could reveal hidden talent, moments that rules could not contain. Some guests began to clap softly, their appreciation growing as the music continued. Others simply nodded in respect, understanding that they were witnessing something special. The young girl noticed the reactions and felt a warmth in her chest. She was not just playing for herself anymore. She was playing for everyone who had stopped to listen. The music was connecting them all in a quiet, unspoken way. As the melody flowed, the young girl's confidence grew stronger. She experimented slightly, adding variations and gentle flourishes she had practiced in secret. The sound was clear and beautiful, filling every corner of the lobby. The clerk stood silently, watching, realizing that his initial anger had been replaced with awe. The guests, too, were fully absorbed, no longer just bystanders but participants in a shared moment of beauty and surprise. The young girl's performance slowly came to an end. She played the final note with care, letting it linger in the air. The lobby was silent for a heartbeat, as if everyone was holding their breath, reluctant to break the spell. Then, slowly, applause began to ripple through the room. It started softly, almost shyly, but quickly grew louder. Guests clapped, some cheered quietly, and a few whistled in admiration. The young girl looked up, her cheeks flushed, and a smile spread across her face. She had done it. She had faced her fear and shared her gift. The clerk approached her, his expression a mixture of surprise and respect. I didn't know you could play like that," he said softly. His voice lacked the harshness from before, replaced with genuine admiration. The young girl nodded shyly, still catching her breath. She felt proud but also humbled by the attention and appreciation. Her mother stepped forward, hugging her gently. "You did wonderfully," she whispered. The young girl's smile grew wider, realizing that the moment of fear had transformed into a moment of pride and accomplishment. The guests continued to clap and smile, clearly moved by the unexpected performance. The clerk, who had scolded her just minutes earlier, now seemed humbled, understanding that he had witnessed something extraordinary. The atmosphere in the lobby shifted completely. What had started as tension and embarrassment had become a shared experience of wonder. The young girl had not only played the piano, she had captured hearts. The guests returned to their activities, but many kept glancing back, remembering the performance they had just witnessed. The clerk remained nearby, still watching, a small smile on his face. He realized that sometimes rules and caution could give way to recognizing true talent, and that some moments were too important to be ignored. As the lobby returned to its normal rhythm, the young girl felt a sense of fulfillment she had never experienced before. She had faced fear, embraced her passion, and shared it with others, creating a memory that would stay with everyone present. The piano, once a source of tension, had become a bridge to something magical. She knew this was only the beginning, that more moments like this could come if she continued to follow her love for music. And for the first time, she felt truly confident that her talent could shine in the world, even when unexpected challenges arose. The hotel lobby seemed almost magical that afternoon. The sound of the piano had not just filled the space, it had transformed it. Guests who had been walking hurriedly, focused on their own activities, now lingered, their faces lit with curiosity and awe. The young girl, having experienced the first thrill of playing in front of people, felt a newfound determination building inside her. She had faced the initial fear of being scolded, had played her first notes in public, and had received the beginning of applause. But she knew she could go further. She wanted to create something that would make the moment unforgettable, not just for herself, but for everyone who had stopped to listen. She positioned her hands gently over the keys, feeling the smooth texture beneath her fingers. The clerk, who had been strict and commanding only minutes ago, now stood to the side, his eyes fixed on her. He seemed cautious, uncertain whether the piano could withstand her growing confidence. Yet, beneath that caution, there was an unmistakable curiosity and even admiration. He had been wrong to judge her too quickly. This child, small and quiet though she was, possessed a skill that demanded attention. The girl began to play again, but this time, her melody was richer, fuller. Each note seemed to flow naturally into the next, building layers of sound that filled the lobby in a way that made the space feel alive. Guests stopped entirely, turning toward her, listening as if drawn by an invisible thread. Their eyes widened, some mouths slightly open in surprise. They were not just hearing music, they were experiencing it. The gentle notes carried an emotion that reached deep, touching hearts in a way no one expected. The young girl's confidence grew with every note. She remembered all the times she had practiced at home, alone in her room, pretending the walls were full of listeners. But this was real. The people here were real. Their reactions mattered. And with that thought, she began to pour more of herself into the performance. Her fingers moved faster, yet with precision, each note clear and deliberate. The melody became more complex, weaving a story without words. A story of courage, hope, and resilience. The guests whispered to one another in amazement. Some leaned on the railings to get a better view, others stopped their conversations entirely. Many reached for their phones, wanting to capture the extraordinary moment. But most simply watched, knowing that photographs could not contain the emotion of the scene. It was a rare moment, one that felt too perfect to be fully captured. Everyone present shared in a quiet, almost sacred connection, held together by the music. Her mother, standing nearby, could hardly contain her pride. She had always known her daughter had talent, but seeing her command the piano in such a public setting was beyond anything she had imagined. She watched the way her daughter's eyes shone, how her fingers danced over the keys, how she seemed to grow taller and braver with every note. She felt a surge of love and admiration, realizing that her child's courage and skill were blossoming before her eyes. The clerk, still standing nearby, couldn't help but be drawn in. He had come to the lobby to enforce rules and prevent mishaps, but now he was witnessing something extraordinary. His stern expression softened completely as he watched the young girl play. He realized he had been too quick to judge her, too quick to react with anger and scolding. This wasn't a child causing trouble. It was a child revealing a hidden gift, a talent that could inspire anyone who heard it. He felt a rare sense of humility, recognizing that some moments in life were more important than enforcing rules. The melody grew louder, stronger, filling every corner of the lobby. The young girl's confidence reached a peak. She began to play with a flourish, adding subtle variations she had imagined but never performed in front of anyone. The sound was clear and beautiful, resonating in the hearts of the guests. They leaned closer, some moved by memories or emotions stirred by the music, others simply captivated by the beauty of skill meeting courage. The atmosphere was electric, but calm, a balance of awe and reverence. The young girl felt herself lifted by the music. Her earlier fear, embarrassment, and hesitation were gone, replaced by a sense of purpose. She realized she could communicate without words, and that her music could reach people she had never met, speaking directly to their hearts. The clerk, watching her intently, felt the same sensation. He had seen many performances in his life, but something about this, the innocence, the determination, the hidden brilliance, was unlike anything he had experienced. It was a quiet reminder that talent could appear anywhere, often when least expected. Guests started to quietly applaud, at first tentatively, then with more certainty. The young girl heard the applause and felt a sense of encouragement, not distraction. It motivated her to continue, to give more of herself to the performance. Her hands moved faster now, dancing across the keys with elegance and precision. Each note told a story, each chord evoked emotion, and each pause held anticipation. The lobby seemed to fade around them, leaving only the music and the shared experience. Her mother's eyes glistened with tears of pride. She realized how much bravery it took for her daughter to step into the spotlight, even for a moment. The music was more than notes on a page. It was a testament to courage, to following passion despite fear, to trusting in oneself. The young girl's fingers moved with mastery she had only imagined before, and the result was breathtaking. The guests' faces reflected admiration, some leaning forward in anticipation, others simply smiling with awe. Even the clerk, usually so concerned with order and precision, was captivated. The melody shifted, becoming softer, more intimate. The young girl's hands hovered gently over the keys, playing with emotion and sensitivity. The guests felt it, a connection that transcended words. Each note seemed to carry the essence of her courage, her practice, and her love for music. The lobby, once filled with hurried footsteps and polite chatter, was now a sanctuary, held together by the beauty of her performance. The clerk felt an unexpected pride and a reminder that life often offered surprises beyond expectation. Time seemed to slow. Guests held their breath, savoring each moment. The young girl was completely immersed in her music, her focus unwavering. She realized that this was more than just playing for the audience. It was about expressing herself fully and authentically. The music became a bridge, connecting her with everyone around her, and the connection was electric yet gentle. It was as if the room itself had paused to listen, and every person present became part of the moment. The performance continued, each note building on the last, forming a narrative of courage and wonder. The young girl's fingers danced over the piano keys with remarkable control and sensitivity. Her heart was racing, but in a good way, a mixture of excitement and pure joy. She felt alive, aware of the power of music to move people. Guests leaned closer, some whispering words of admiration to each other, others simply absorbing the experience in silence. It was a perfect balance of shared attention and personal reflection. As the final notes approached, the young girl felt a surge of emotion. She played each final chord with care and intention, letting the sound linger just long enough to fill the hearts of everyone in the lobby. The room was silent for a heartbeat, as if all of them were collectively holding onto the beauty of the moment. Then, slowly, applause erupted. Guests clapped, some cheered quietly, others stood in awe. The young girl smiled, her cheeks flushed with pride and relief. She had faced fear, embraced her talent, and created a moment that everyone would remember. The clerk approached her slowly, his stern demeanor completely replaced by admiration. "That was extraordinary," he said softly. The young girl nodded shyly, still catching her breath. Her mother hugged her gently, whispering words of pride and encouragement. The guests continued to clap, some still moved to tears, others simply smiling with wonder. The atmosphere in the lobby had shifted completely. What had begun as a tense confrontation had become a moment of beauty and connection. The young girl had not only played the piano, she had touched the hearts of everyone present, leaving a lasting impression that would be remembered long after the music had ended. The applause echoed softly through the grand lobby, but it was more than just clapping. It was a recognition, a collective admiration from everyone who had witnessed the young girl's performance. She stood still for a moment, her small hands hovering over the keys as if reluctant to let the magic go. Her chest heaved slightly, her heart still racing with a mix of relief, pride, and lingering excitement. The music she had played had not only captured attention, but it had also transformed the atmosphere completely. Guests who had been hurriedly walking or engaged in conversations were now fully absorbed, some quietly discussing the talent they had just seen, others simply staring in awe. Her mother stood a little to the side, beaming with pride. She had always believed in her daughter's ability, but seeing her perform in front of an audience of strangers was different. The young girl had faced embarrassment, scolding, and uncertainty, yet she had turned it into something extraordinary. She had taken control of the situation in a way that was rare for someone her age, and that courage shone through every note she played. The mother's heart swelled, knowing that this moment could shape her daughter's confidence and sense of self forever. The clerk, who had been strict and intimidating just minutes before, now approached slowly, his steps deliberate. His arms were still crossed, but his expression had changed entirely. He looked at the young girl not as a child who had broken a rule, but as a person who had revealed a talent worth recognizing. I wasn't expecting that," he admitted, his voice softer than before. "That was incredible." The young girl nodded shyly, still catching her breath. She felt a mixture of pride and humility. She had shared her gift, and the response was beyond anything she had imagined. The guests, sensing the special moment, began to respond in different ways. Some clapped louder, their admiration growing. Others smiled quietly, moved by the unexpected beauty of the performance. A few approached, offering kind words or gestures of encouragement. The lobby, which had started as a place of tension and embarrassment, was now filled with warmth, appreciation, and a quiet sense of wonder. Everyone was connected, even if briefly, by the music and the courage of one small girl. The young girl took a deep breath, feeling a sense of accomplishment that she had never experienced before. She had stepped out of her comfort zone, faced fear, and expressed herself fully through the piano. The notes she had played had reached beyond the keys and into the hearts of the audience. She realized that music had the power to unite people, to create moments that were remembered and cherished. Her confidence grew as she realized that her passion could touch lives in a meaningful way. Around her, the hotel staff began to relax, realizing that the situation had transformed completely. The clerk, who had initially been focused on rules and order, now seemed inspired. He had been reminded that talent and courage could appear in unexpected places, and that sometimes, letting go of strict control allowed extraordinary moments to emerge. He watched the young girl with genuine respect, understanding that she had not just played a piano, but had shared a piece of herself with everyone present. Guests continued to linger, some whispering softly to each other about how remarkable the performance had been. Others simply smiled, savoring the memory. A few even returned to their seats or adjusted their positions to watch the young girl a little longer, as if wanting to hold on to the magic for just a few more moments. The atmosphere was charged with admiration, yet calm, a blend of awe and joy that was rare in the busy hustle of a hotel lobby. Her mother moved closer, giving her daughter a gentle squeeze on the shoulder. "You were amazing," she whispered. The young girl nodded, feeling a sense of pride that went beyond words. She had taken a moment of fear and embarrassment and turned it into something powerful and beautiful. The applause from the guests and the admiration of the clerk reinforced what she had always known in her heart. She had a gift, and she had the courage to share it. The clerk stepped forward, speaking to the girl in a tone that was almost hesitant. "I want you to know, I've seen many performances in this lobby over the years, but I've never seen anything like that. You have a rare talent." The young girl's eyes widened slightly at his words. She had not expected recognition from someone she had feared moments before. The acknowledgement from the clerk, someone she had thought might be critical, made the moment even more meaningful. It was a lesson in understanding, patience, and the surprising ways people could respond when they were open to something extraordinary. The guests, noticing the interaction between the clerk and the girl, began to smile and nod, recognizing the significance of the moment. Some quietly whispered words of encouragement. Others simply continued to watch, appreciating the unfolding scene. The young girl felt a warmth in her heart, knowing that her music had not only captivated the audience but had also created connections and respect. She realized that courage, talent, and a willingness to embrace opportunity could change perceptions in an instant. The piano, which had been at the center of tension earlier, now stood as a symbol of transformation. It had been the object of rules and caution, but it had become a bridge between the young girl and the audience. Through her music, she had turned fear into admiration, embarrassment into pride, and silence into applause. The moment was delicate and powerful, a testament to the impact of sharing one's gift authentically and courageously. As the applause began to fade, the young girl felt a sense of completion. She had given her all, expressed herself fully, and left a mark on everyone who had listened. The lobby slowly returned to its usual rhythm, but the memory of the performance lingered in the air. Guests returned to their activities, some with lingering smiles, others sharing quiet words about the extraordinary experience they had just witnessed. The clerk, still watching, seemed reflective, understanding that he had witnessed a rare and beautiful event. The young girl stepped back from the piano, her hands still tingling from the performance. She looked around at the faces of the guests, some smiling, some clapping softly, all touched in some way by her music. Her mother embraced her once more, whispering words of pride and encouragement. The young girl felt a deep sense of accomplishment and connection. She had faced fear, shared her talent, and experienced the power of music to move and inspire others. The clerk approached one final time, his expression now completely softened. "You have a gift," he said quietly, "and you should never be afraid to share it." The young girl nodded, her heart full. She understood the importance of courage, the value of passion, and the magic that could happen when one faced a challenge with determination and grace. The moment had transformed not only her, but also everyone who had witnessed it. It was a reminder that talent, when shared, had the power to create beauty, connection, and lasting memories. As the afternoon sun streamed through the large windows, casting golden light across the polished floors, the young girl and her mother stepped away from the piano. The lobby returned to its regular activity, but the energy of what had happened remained. Guests carried with them the memory of the performance, a story of courage, talent, and unexpected beauty. The young girl, once nervous and unsure, now walked with quiet confidence, knowing that her gift had been seen, appreciated, and remembered. The clerk returned to his duties, but he carried with him a renewed sense of awareness, that moments of unexpected talent could transform not only a space but also the hearts of those present. The hotel lobby gradually returned to its usual rhythm, but the air was still charged with the echoes of what had just happened. The young girl stood beside her mother, taking a moment to breathe deeply and absorb everything. Her small hands still tingled from playing the piano, and her heart beat with a mix of pride, excitement, and wonder. She had faced fear, embarrassment, and the stern voice of the clerk, and yet she had created something unforgettable. The applause, the smiles, and the quiet admiration of the guests had all left a lasting impression on her. Her mother held her hand gently, guiding her through the crowd of guests who had paused to watch the transformation unfold. "You were amazing," she whispered again, her eyes full of warmth and pride. The young girl nodded, her face glowing with a quiet confidence that had grown with each note she had played. For a moment, the world outside the piano seemed far away. The focus was entirely on the music, the connection it had created, and the new understanding she had found in herself. The clerk approached one last time, his usual stern demeanor softened completely. "I need to apologize for shouting earlier," he said sincerely. "I didn't understand what I was about to witness. You have an incredible talent." The young girl looked up at him, a shy smile crossing her face. She nodded, appreciating his honesty and the acknowledgement of her skill. It was a moment of reconciliation, turning what had started as tension into mutual respect. The clerk, who had initially been focused solely on rules and caution, now seemed genuinely inspired by her courage and ability. Guests who had been observing continued to approach, offering words of praise and admiration. Some clapped softly again, while others shared quiet conversations about the unexpected beauty they had just witnessed. The young girl's performance had not only captivated the audience but had also sparked curiosity and admiration among the hotel staff. Even the bellhops and other employees who had been busy with their duties paused to acknowledge the rare moment of brilliance they had seen unfold. The young girl took another glance at the piano, its polished black surface gleaming in the light. She could feel the connection she had established with the instrument and with everyone who had listened. It was more than just playing music. It was about expressing herself, sharing something deeply personal, and creating a memory that would last for everyone present. She realized that courage and skill combined could have a powerful impact, and she felt a renewed sense of determination to continue nurturing her talent. Her mother led her toward a quieter corner of the lobby, away from the crowd, giving her a chance to reflect on everything that had just happened. "Do you understand what you just did?" her mother asked softly. The young girl nodded. "I played music and people listened. They felt something," she said quietly. Her mother smiled, realizing that her daughter had grasped an important lesson about expression, bravery, and the power of sharing what one loves. This moment was shaping not just her skill as a musician but her confidence and understanding of herself. The clerk, observing from a distance, had returned to his duties but continued to steal glances at the young girl. He was impressed by how a simple act of courage and talent could transform an entire space, shifting the energy from tension and embarrassment to admiration and awe. He quietly reflected on the lesson he had learned. Sometimes, rules and caution should yield to the recognition of genuine skill, and sometimes extraordinary moments emerge from the most unexpected places. The guests, now returning to their activities, carried with them a story they would remember. Some would recount it to friends, family, or colleagues. Others would simply cherish the memory quietly, touched by the sincerity and beauty of what they had experienced. The young girl's performance had become more than a personal triumph. It had become a shared experience, a fleeting but profound connection that would linger in the hearts of everyone present. The young girl's mother encouraged her to take a few steps toward the piano one more time. She wanted her daughter to understand that this moment was not just about playing well, but about embracing the courage to stand in front of others and share her gift. The girl approached the piano slowly, her hands resting gently on the keys. She did not play this time. Instead, she allowed herself to simply appreciate the instrument and the space where she had created something meaningful. The connection she felt was deeper than music alone. It was about bravery, presence, and the ability to inspire. The clerk approached again, this time with a small smile. "You have changed the energy in this lobby," he said softly. "You've reminded everyone here, including me, that talent and courage can transform moments. Thank you for sharing it." The young girl nodded, feeling the weight and significance of his words. She realized that her actions had an impact beyond herself. Her music had touched lives, altered perspectives, and created a memory that would be remembered long after she left the lobby. Guests began to slowly disperse, returning to their routines but still looking back with smiles and quiet admiration. Some whispered about the unexpected performance, sharing their awe and appreciation. The young girl observed them, realizing that her courage had not only built her own confidence, but had also inspired and moved others. The experience reinforced her understanding that sharing one's passion could create ripples far beyond what one might expect. Her mother led her toward the exit of the lobby, their hands intertwined. "Remember this feeling," her mother said softly. "This is what happens when you are brave and true to yourself. You've done something special today." The young girl nodded, a warm sense of fulfillment washing over her. She understood that courage, skill, and the willingness to take risks could create moments of magic and connection. She had not only performed, she had shared a piece of her soul, and the effect was profound. As they stepped outside, the sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the streets. The young girl felt lighter, more confident, and inspired. She knew that the memory of this day, the experience of playing the piano in front of an audience, would remain with her forever. It was a reminder that even small actions, taken with courage and intention, could lead to remarkable outcomes. She had transformed a moment of fear into one of beauty, respect, and inspiration, and she carried that knowledge with her. The clerk, returning to his routine, paused for a moment to glance back at the lobby. He reflected on how a single act of talent and bravery could create a shift not just in a room but in the people within it. He had learned an important lesson about patience, recognition, and the unexpected ways talent could appear. The young girl had reminded him that every moment held the potential for something extraordinary, even in the most ordinary of settings. The lobby slowly returned to its normal rhythm, but the echoes of the music and the impact of the performance lingered. Guests, staff, and the clerk carried with them a sense of admiration and inspiration. The young girl's courage and talent had transformed the space and touched hearts in ways that could not be measured. It was a day that would be remembered, a story that would be told again and again, and a lesson in the power of skill, bravery, and authentic expression. The young girl and her mother walked home together, the warmth of the afternoon fading into the gentle glow of evening. She thought about the piano, the music, and the audience. She realized that she had discovered not just her ability to play, but her ability to connect with others through her passion. She had faced fear, embraced opportunity, and left a lasting impression on everyone around her. The experience had changed her, giving her confidence, courage, and a deeper understanding of herself and her abilities. That night, she lay in bed, replaying the performance in her mind. The notes, the reactions, the admiration, they all blended into a tapestry of memory that made her heart swell with pride and joy. She knew that this was just the beginning, that more opportunities would come, and that her talent, combined with courage, could create more moments of magic and connection. She closed her eyes with a sense of fulfillment, knowing that she had not only shared her gift, but had also inspired and touched the lives of everyone in the lobby that day. It was a true moment of triumph, courage, and the extraordinary power of music.